so hi. Today I'm going to Lions Center because there's like a Palestine protest happening. So I was like, let's go and protest because why not? I'm gonna see if I hang out with my friends later, but let's see what I'm gonna do today. Currently I'm waiting for my bus and it's quite sunny outside and I've got my Palestine badges here.
You can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Monkeys, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Genocide! Starbucks, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Starbucks, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Starbucks, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Starbucks, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide. Starbucks, you can't hide, we charge you with genocide.
Anybody else writing?
And the score wouldn't be reinstated. The score wouldn't be reinstated. Labour Party would
Yeah. 8 years old on the behalf of many children in the UK. I would like to say to the children of Gaza, please don't lose hope. We feel your pain. We feel your pain. We feel your fear. And we feel your hunger. We keep thinking of you. You are always in our minds. We will continue to call the world to save you, feed you, treat you. To rebuild your houses, to send you to safe schools where you can learn and build your future, to give you toys to play and entertain like other children of the world. We really believe that you deserve a better life. Please, I want everyone to repeat after me. Please, children of Gaza, don't lose hope.
Please, children of Gaza, don't lose hope.
We are here to say,
We are here to say,
stop bombing schools.
stop bombing schools,
Stop bombing children.
stop bombing children,
Save the children in Gaza.
save the children in Gaza.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now! 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 Ceasefire!
Everyone for coming and continue to come in solidarity of people in Palestine. Please keep it up because people in Palestine are taking their hope from our numbers. They keep looking at us and that gives them a lot of support. Even if we don't see the immediate ceasefire now, we are here to give them direct message. We stand with you, Palestinian people. And I also work in global health. And in global health society, every year we announce International Day of a specific theme. And that theme, or that day, to celebrate the world achievement in that particular theme. Today is the 15th of December. Is it the 15th? 16th of December. You know everyone who has values. It's really heartbreaking for everyone who believes in equity. It's really heartbreaking for everyone who is just human. That's not the end of the story, because every day there is one journalist killed in Gaza. The last one was killed last night. They have left him to bleed for 6 hours. His life could have been saved, but there was no ambulance to carry him to where the hospital is. Also, every 1 hour, there are 5 people missed in Gaza, which means their family don't know whether they are alive or they are died under the rubble. There are 5 people injured or wounded in Gaza every 10 minutes. This is really beyond what anyone could understand and able to believe. Every day there are 2 health facilities get completely out of service. 2 ambulances every day completely broken and destroyed. Every 10 minutes there is 1 school out of service, which means children who survive the bombardment will not be able to learn until those schools are rebuilt again. Every 2 hours, as we said last time, every 2 hours, there is 1 child losing a hand or a leg. This is really horrible in areas where the bombardment is still taking place, which is now every place in Gaza. But for those who survive and manage to go to internally displaced camp that is served by United Nations, served by the UNRWA, saved by the UNICEF, what is the health situation there? It's horrible. Last week, the UNICEF officer have said there is 100,000 of people with upper respiratory tract infection. Hundreds of thousands people have diarrhea because there is no safe water. The United Nations agencies, all of them are not able to provide safe water to those people in the entire.
We occupied a building to say we will not let there be peace in our city while Palestine is not free. They are right that 2-state solution is dead, but we are the future of that single state of Palestine. Now, to call for a single state of free Palestine, some people will call us terrorists. Well, Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist when he fought against apartheid in South Africa. Ho Chi Minh was called a criminal for fighting America to try and liberate Vietnam. And Malcolm X in America was demonized for fighting racism over there. And do you know what links these 3 people? All of them called for a free Palestine too, because they knew that to fight apartheid, imperialism or racism, you have to fight them wherever they occur. You can't pick and choose your battles depending on whether the ruling class or the media are kind to you. They knew that nobody is free until Palestine is free. So we should be proud to be part of that tradition of people who stood up and were counted, of people who answered oppression with liberation, of people who fought division with unity, and people who stood up against violent regimes with solidarity and strength. Thank you. To be treated as human beings.
To be treated as human beings.
To be respected as human beings.
To be respected as human beings.
In this life.
In this life.
In this world.
In this world.
On this day.
On this day.
Which we all intend to bring into existence.
Which we all intend to bring into existence.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
I'm going to introduce Fatima. She's going to do a few chants.
I think she's a bit shy, bless her, but go for it.
Palestine will be free, although they are hurt, living in despair, eager for the bombing to stop, still they are waiting. TikTok goes time in our country, no one even cares, except for the Palestinian supporters who love them with their hearts, who want them to be free. Allah will help them because they have faith, and then one day everyone will see Palestine will be free.
Starvation for one, because of lack of food. You've heard there's no fresh water, there's no way to dispose of sewage. There's already a big increase in gastrointestinal infections. It will be no surprise whatsoever if cholera does not appear before too long. Because people can't wash and clean their clothes, there's a huge increase in things like scabies, also hepatitis A, lots of infectious diseases. And our press, they keep saying the health service is under strain in Gaza. The health service in Gaza is utterly destroyed as a deliberate policy of the Israeli. Away in bomb shelters, concrete for a bed, the little lost children lay down their sweet heads. The drones in the dark sky look down where they lay, while they pray to the angels to fly them away. The mothers are crying, the babies are awake, the building is rocking, the whole city shakes. Bless all the dear children who are living through hell, but the Lockheed and Boeing shares are doing so well. Thank you very much.
Before I start, I just want to say I got asked for a straw hat a couple of times. I just want to clarify, the straw hat, it's from a character from a show, and in that show he's called the Warrior Liberation, and he frees those who are oppressed, and that resonates with me because I want the liberation of Palestine and freedom of the oppressed, so I carry that with me as a symbol against oppression and against apartheid. I'm not going to sit here and talk about my favourite show for the past 5 years, because we wouldn't leave at that point. But what I'm going to talk to you about is history, and I'm going to do the common historical practice to draw parallels of tragedies to show you just exactly how bad that the situation in Gaza is. The Law of Return 1950 states, it allows all Jewish people around the world to become citizens as well as their descendants. But no law exists like that for the Palestinians and millions of refugees, many born as refugees unable to return to their homes. Reich citizenship, passed in Germany in 1935 as one of the Nuremberg laws, defined who was considered a citizen of the Reich and who wasn't. Those of German blood, or like that of German blood, were eligible for citizenship, while Jews were stripped of their citizenship and lost political rights. Do you see the similarities?
Yes!
Israeli citizenship law, 2003. It denies Palestinians who are married to Israelis to be in Israel if they originate from the West Bank or Gaza. Said by Israeli academics, the law ensures Israel's security and maintains its Jewish character, with Simcha Rothman of a far-right Zionist party saying that the state of Israel is Jewish and so it will remain. Interior Minister Ayelet Shaked saying, today, God willing, Israel's defensive shield will be significantly strengthened. He's talking about Palestinians whose only crime was love and marriage. Law of protection for German blood and honor, 1935. It prohibits marriages or sexual relations between Jews and Germans, not wanting racial pollution in Germany to make sure the Aryan regime remained Aryan, establishing a criteria of Jewishness and Jewish origin to say they were not allowed to engage with German citizens. Love and marriage was a crime. Do you see the similarities?
Yes!
And when it comes to apartheid, we don't even need to Look at that. We see in South Africa, even former Israeli intelligence Mossad chief Tamir Pardo had even said that there is apartheid. And for anyone who wishes to question my sources, I got this from what's called that? the Jerusalem Post and the Times of Israel, two Israeli media outlets, and Alaa, the legal center for Arab minority rights in Israel. So if Zionists want to question me, shut up, because these are your sources. What about genocide? Alright, let's go parallels then. You've seen the pictures of Palestinian men stripped naked and marched with hundreds put into ditches, large mass graves being built as they're filmed and recorded. This is not any different to the Armenian genocide. The Ottoman forces stripped Armenians bare and forced them to march through deserts until they died and then dug graves for them. Or what about when the Serbian forces besieged Sarajevo, sniped and killed everyone? I saw a video last week of a beautiful old Israeli woman. Said she was older than Israel itself, and she laughed and joked with the cameraman and jokingly flirted with her. Her name was Hadiya Nassar. Israel sniped her right here, right between the eyes.
Shame!
We can't forget when the Serbians engaged in ethnic cleansing. Palestinians have been going through that since 1948. What about this week in Shadia Abu Ghazala Hospital, where they gathered every man, every woman, every child, and gunned them down. Babies, the elderly, the sick, riddled with bullet holes. No sign of shelling, no sign of bombs. They were left there to die in the hospitals. And that's exactly what the Tutsis, that's exactly what the Hutus did to the Tutsis in the Rwandan genocide. All our Indian officers in occupied Kashmir raped and tortured prisoners and sexually assault women. We don't even need written proof. When we look at Palestine, we've seen the treatment of the Palestinian hostages. When we saw Ahed Tamimi cry and come out of prison as she sobbed about the torture and the brutalization of prisoners. We've seen how human rights organizations spoke of the rape of Palestinian boys and girls in Israeli prisons, many of whom only committed the single crime of throwing stones at a tank. Like the Chinese government does now in the ongoing genocide of the Uyghur Muslims, the Israeli government wipes out Palestinian land, culture and heritage. Like the ongoing genocide in Congo today, where the Western world and Israeli regime do not care how many people they kill in Palestine to get to their natural resources. It has every genocide, past and present, mixed into it. And if I could, I'd stand here for days reciting the dead, the names of everyone who's died, because they deserve to be acknowledged, they deserve to be recognized. They're not numbers, they're people. They had dreams, they had lives, they had hopes. I remember last week when Dr. Mariam Fadil gave a speech and talked about how young Palestinian boys who want to play football will never have that chance because they'll have their legs amputated. I want to give every single one their name, but I can't. Because I know if any one of us tried, we'd break down before we could. So I'll give you just a few of them. Shaking his arm. We saw on video telling a man not to cry. We'll all taste martyrdom. Who were proud of his children who were martyred. Killed by Israel this week in airstrikes. Samer Abu Dakar, Al Jazeera journalist and cameraman, martyred this week, killed by Israel as they executed him, and refused to allow aid and ambulances to get to him for survival. And none of us can forget Reem, soul of my soul, granddaughter of Khaled Nabhan, who he held in his arms, not believing she was dead for a good few hours, styled the hair of her corpse into pigtails because it was the hairstyle that she loved. These guys have never lost a single bit of hope, not once. And I'm glad I can see so many of us here today, because we are the only bridge connecting Palestine to the rest of the world. Right now they've lost connection. Many of the reporters that we follow, journalists, they're getting injured. They're getting hurt. They're dying even. This is not what Zionists think they can say it is. This is genocide through and through. I have the facts on my phone to prove it. I can bring sources upon days. It's my cause, for God's sake. If you want to come out before this, try it. This is genocide. This is apartheid. And this is an occupation. For 75 long years they've gone through this. We're not going to stop until we see Palestine. So I want to say one thing, and one thing only. Do not let a ceasefire be the only thing we aim for. Do not stop at that point. We need to go further. We need to go faster. We end the occupation. We end the apartheid. And we free Palestine until nothing else can harm them anymore. I want to say this one more final thing before my voice actually gives out. We won't lose. Neither will the Palestinians. Because if you could look at the smile of a Palestinian person, it could light up the whole world, but the world never sees it. They never look at it. These are people of beauty and pride. So if they haven't given up, if they haven't lost, then we need to hold on to them. Let my words, the words of Jack who just spoke, the words of Dr. Mariam Fadl, of Dr. Let them make a rope to hold on to the Palestinians, and let that rope burn your hands. Let it anger you. Let it make you a fire of rage, because we direct that to liberate the Palestinian people. So, like the character I spoke of earlier, a warrior of liberation, a beacon and a hope to the oppressors. No, a hope to the oppressed. I mean, sorry, I'm honestly speaking off my mind here. We'll be a hope to the oppressed. We'll be their warriors of liberation. And we'll free them. And I want all of us, I believe that the Palestine will be free in our generation. In our lifetime, we will see it. And I can't wait to see every single one of you there flying to Palestine to celebrate with our brothers and sisters as they're free.
I honestly don't know how to start the speech off this week based on all of the calamities that I heard had happened in the last week. So we were able to call our family. It was a longer call this time, longer than 30 seconds. And there's a few stories that they told us. Number one, there is no more food in Gaza, especially in the north. Most of my family is still in the north, and there's no food, no humanitarian aid, nothing is reaching them over there. They're being forced to eat rotten food and expired food. Like food you would not even feed your animals, they are eating it. My cousin Khalid al-Tabba, when I last saw him, he was about 80 kilograms. He was, mashallah, he was big and strong. He said he'd lost 10 kilograms in this war. 10. And this isn't a diet that he put upon himself. This is due to the lack of food and due to the stress and anxiety that everyone is in. We've seen no photos of them. The internet's impossible to get any photos. But I can imagine the skin just hanging off their bodies. There is no water, of course. Nothing at all. Some are forced to drink salty water from the sea. They may have to boil it if they can. My family, they said that due to the lack of heating, what they do at night is they cuddle together. About 7 of them cuddle together just to keep warm. They say it's to keep warm, but then my aunt also says, who is a very strong person, usually. She cried last time when we called her. She said that many people have had enough, and that she wants the war to finish or for everyone to die together. They sleep together so that if a bomb is dropped on them, they die together. Last week, the house that they were sheltering in was struck by tanks, and they had to evacuate their own city for the 4th time. Our connection with them was lost yet again, but this time the intense bombing means that the telecommunication services cannot be fixed. My grandma, who I promised 4 months ago that I would become a doctor for her, she was able to speak to us on Tuesday. I couldn't say anything to her, couldn't tell her how we were doing before the communication was cut. But every day I pray that she lives to the day where she sees me live out my dream. My father's cousin, he also recently passed away. But not due to an Israeli airstrike. He had cancer. But due to the lack of medical aid and the stress and the anxiety, it all piled on him and it killed him inevitably. This is the worrying thing about Gaza now. The numbers that we see, the 20,000 people that have been killed, they are the numbers that are confirmed to have been killed by airstrikes. We don't know about the real numbers. The people trapped underneath the rubbles, the people dying due to a lack of medical aid, or those are dying in their homes due to being trapped. So they say that 20,000 is the number, although I'm certain the number is at least 3 times larger. Sure. Now, I want to end on a good note. So you may be confused how I can possibly end on a good note after saying all of this. But what you'd forget is that I'm a Palestinian, and everyone in Gaza is a Palestinian. We always find ease after hardship. If not now, then in the next life. Because the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine, they do not fear the genocidal regime that is Israel. We shall come out victorious one day, and we will have our country back. And those in Gaza know this, so you guys here must know this as well. But before I finish, I have a question for you guys. Are you tired?
No!
Are you bored?
No!
Are you coming again next week?
Yes!
Because while we are alone, our powers are divided. But when we come together every week, and we chant for the same thing every week, our powers and strength grows. And the Zionists, along with our so-called government, begins to fear us more and more. So please don't stop and continue to protest, boycott and resist. Because the power is with the people, and together we can say victory to the Palestinians. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Far from Israel. The current situation has put a magnifying glance on a situation we've been all too familiar with in the Middle East for decades. The sense of helplessness and despair that many of you across the world are experiencing as we watch the genocide unfold before our eyes, as we plead to those in power to show up for humanity and to stop the atrocities. We have been experiencing this helplessness for decades. It not only gets worse with every single atrocity, with every single wave of violence, it really does get to your soul eventually. So you get that feeling like you're watching a horror film that never ends, where an apocalyptic level of death and destruction cannot be stopped and cannot be accounted for. It is heart-wrenching and soul-crushing. At times like this, we remind one another what we should do. We talk a lot about what all the do's, like do persist, do boycott, do donate, do protest, do resist. And these are all actions that are very vital and important. But today I want to talk to you about the don'ts that I have learned as somebody, as an Arab Muslim woman who grew up on a neighboring border with both Israel and Gaza. I want to tell you that the first don't is don't underestimate the level of complicity from those in power who are profiteering from human suffering on both sides. I first encountered this when Mohammed al-Durra was killed in the arms of his father in cold blood, shot by an Israeli sniper. Now, at that point in my life, I was 18 years old. Having grown up in Egypt, believe it or not, I had never in my life heard of what was going on in Palestine. You see, growing up in Egypt in the 1990s, we learned in school the Egyptian version of the conflict. We learned that Israel had invaded Sinai at some point, that we have won a war and reclaimed our land, and that was it. We kind of hear stories about Bahr al-Ba'ar, for example, school, which was a primary school in Egypt that was bombed by Israel in the 1970s. And we kind of vaguely know the narrative about the atrocities that have been committed on Egyptian soil. But that was it. Nothing about the Palestinian suffering. We were never told anything about our Palestinian brothers and sisters and what they were going through. Nothing was told to us about this. We know that silence is complicity, but what we didn't know was how far our own government was willing to go in order to sustain this complicity with what was going on in Palestine. I learned about it when Mohammed al-Dura was killed, and I was speaking to some of my colleagues at my university in Egypt, telling them that we need to have a vigil and a silent march to condemn this horrific crime against an innocent child. The next thing I know is my mother gets a call from Amn al-Dawla, that's the Egyptian National Security Agency, telling her to stop me from going to university the next day at all costs. The message was clear. It wasn't a clear threat, a direct threat, but the message was clear that should any kind of disorder erupt on campus, I was going to be top on their arrest list. I went to the university the next day, not out of courage, but out of rage, that even in Egypt, a country where we are allowed to talk about our own children who have been slaughtered by this regime, we are not allowed to talk about the Palestinian children. The next day when I went to the university, there was at least a dozen trucks of military-style national security police outside of my university campus. All of this, dozens of, if not hundreds of police military soldiers, just to suppress our little silent march. Believe it or not. This is the level of complicity that exists in our government. So you see, so no one was arrested that day, but the question remained in mind. How far is our own government involved in this? And how far are they willing to suppress any voices for Palestinians' rights? So now seeing people lose their jobs and their livelihood for speaking out against the current genocide is not a surprise to me. I will not, however, it will never, however, stop people like us from speaking out. We care way too much about our own humanity, as well as the humanity of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, to be pushed into silence. So my message is, know your rights. Don't underestimate the level of oppression that you may find yourself against, but don't let it defeat you. The second don't is don't fall in the trap of us and them. I learned this only a couple of years after that protest for al-Dura, when Rachel Corrie, an American Jewish peace activist, was killed by an Israeli soldier who decided to run over her with a bulldozer as she defended a Palestinian home from getting demolished. Now this was mind-boggling for someone like me, living in Egypt, seeing the glaring bias coming from the West, that always gave us a clear and consistent message that we, Arab youth, do not matter, that our lives do not matter, and they are worth nothing. And this was even more clear after 9/11, when we were seeing statements from someone like the President of the United States at the time, George Bush, like, they hate us for who we are. They hate our freedom. That they, in his statements, was horrifying to me and millions like me. And we saw this divisive narrative, and we keep seeing it until today on the media, where lies and disinformation continue to portray Arabs as the subhuman other. We need to ask the question, why does the president of the most powerful country in the world find a need to lie to the rest of the world and tell us with a straight face that he saw with his own eyes children being beheaded in Israel? Why does he need to or does he need to lie to us this way? Did he not find enough atrocities committed to perpetuate the level of hate and dehumanization that could falsely justify the genocide? Does he know that nothing will ever justify this genocide, so decided to preempt any attempt for rational thinking and instead fill the world with rage and irrational hate? It is a genocidal mindset that we have been seeing for years. It's either us or them. There's no room for coexistence in his narrative. So my message to you is, please do not fall for this. While it's important to call out the hate and division, and also it's important to counter this with peace, love, compassion for one another. So do share those videos of Israeli forces invading mosques, destroying churches, and killing innocent people, but we also must share the voices of our brothers and sisters and Jewish Voice for Peace activists who have shut down bridges in 8 US cities only the last week on the 8th day of Hanukkah and have given up so much to call for a ceasefire. Go watch Israeli documentaries that challenge colonialism, racism, and Zionism. Israelism, To See If I'm Smiling, Born in Gaza, Mission Hebron, the list goes on of Israeli-made documentaries that challenge this colonialist regime. Go follow organizations like Breaking the Silence of former IDF officers and soldiers who are telling the truth about what's going on the ground. We must highlight the sacrifices made by our anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters in their pursuit to defend Palestinian human rights, and we must stand in unity with each and every one of them. Rachel Corrie was the antithesis to the official narrative of hate. There I was, a 21-year-old Egyptian woman who has been horrified by the violence inflicted on my Palestinian neighbors, watching an American Jewish woman pay her life to defend them. This was a moment of truth for me, and let it be a moment of truth for you. We must remind one another of our shared humanity and our unity. We must make clear to the corrupt politicians that we are in this together, and we will win this together. Free, free
Palestine!
Free, free
Palestine!
So if you're a Christian or an atheist, make sure you reach out to your Muslim and Jewish friends and neighbors. You don't have to pick a side. It is not either or. It is all of us calling for one thing: a free Palestine. Free, free
Palestine!
Free, free
Palestine!
The third and final don't is don't let it die out. I've seen it enough times in my lifetime to tell you this. Those of us who have the luxury to get on with our lives and forget all about this genocide will take the first opportunity to do so if we are given this opportunity. The fight for justice is too heavy of a burden to carry. It is easy for everyone to react now to the horrors that are happening on the streets of Gaza. It is easy to be horrified and to call for a ceasefire now. But what is not easy is to continue the fight past a ceasefire. And to remember that the fight for justice doesn't stop at a ceasefire. It doesn't stop with a two-state solution or a one-state solution or whatever slogan they're going to throw at us in order to silence and keep people just kind of going on with their lives. This lip service to whitewash the genocide will never lead to an everlasting peace. For a long-lasting peace to ever exist in the Middle East and across the world, there has to be real justice, and real justice means real accountability. The crimes that have been committed are too horrific for anyone to look away or to move on. In Egypt, we have a saying that no right is lost if not given up. So don't fall into the comfort zone and forget all about Gaza and the West Bank and the millions of Palestinians in the diaspora. Be ready for the long-term legal, political, and humanitarian battles that must be fought to restore peace and justice. They may take years, but history tells us that justice can prevail and that we will see eventually a free Palestine.
Palestine!
This is why we are here today. This is part of the reason. I want to give a shout out to a sister. I'm not going to mention who she is, but she's been carrying this from Parkinson's steps. Her arms must be very tired, so I offered to take over. But the fact is, I know this is a dummy. Imagine seeing this in real life. What would it do to you? How would Britain react if they saw this in real life? How would America react? How would Spain react? How would the Western world react? Why are we allowed to do it with the people of Gaza? Why are the people of Palestine treated as subhumans? That's why we're here, and we're going to keep coming here every single week to fight this injustice. My request to all of you is to please continue the fight. The best way to continue this fight is to follow democratic process, respect the law, mobilize, boycott, and do what you can. Have civil conversations with people, work collectively, work individually, do your best for the Palestinians. Do what you can.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna